one thing for sure, the demand for electricity is gonna go up, up, up.
And you just went live, Mr. Harold.
All right, guys, welcome to Ecologic for the last month of the year. We've just passed the winter solstice, 2 days, so the days are getting longer. We are fortunate to have with us Chris Bouy, and tonight's subject, and Jeremy Venable. Tonight's subject is electricity for Lafayette. We have looked at the plan for Lafayette and think it's an absolute disaster. So, and it starts with MISO and our connection with MISO. Our history with MISO is started 20 years ago, around 2004, 2003, we joined MISO.
What exactly is MISO?
MISO is the transmission company that buys power and sells it at cost.
Buys and resells the
Buys
electric.
and resells, yeah. And so a power company like CLECO, has excess power, they sell it to MISO.
Okay. Then MISO puts it on the grid and sells it to whoever buys
Yeah,
it.
right. And MISO operates from Canada, in the middle of the country, all the way to the Gulf.
So why are we involved with MISO? It sounds.
Well, because with CLECO, it was a way we could buy power real cheap.
By buying the excess power.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's been real successful. But MISO has requirements, and one of it is that you got to generate what you buy. So for us, the closing of the 250 megawatt plant up there in North Louisiana is a real negative, and it has to be closed the 1st of January
Why is that?
because we're getting off of coal.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, because coal has its problems.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things is air pollution, it's water pollution, it's landfill, you name it, and, coal. And coal is expensive
Yes.
to generate, it's. So,
So we were involved with MISO and
and MISO is demanding that we replace the coal plant. And we're doing that with reactivating the Bonaire plant, which was 300 megawatts. Now, they're gonna put a single cycle, big turbine engine. I don't know whether this thing is gonna be cooled. And, if it is, that's a whole new issue. But it's going to only run 870 hours, and it costs $240 million. Going to run 870 hours a year, and it's going to run only when MISO tells us to turn it on.
so MISO actually dictates.
Yes, as they dictate without two. We have two power plants right now that were built in 2008, and they're using GE Frame 5 turbines,
Yeah.
single cycle. They're only 8% efficient. GE was taking those things off of the old 747s and replacing it with engines that were 35% efficient.
Right.
And so
So
the
Lafayette.
engineering firm out of, working with MISO, I guess, recommended these peaking plants. And so you can't afford to run them continuously, you know,
So Lafayette taxpayers are gonna spend how much?
400 million.
$400 million to install a
Yep.
peaking plant
Yep,
that MISO dictates when it can run.
yep.
So
And-
how
and
does?
we will pay,
how-
even though it's locally generated, we're gonna still pay 4.5 cents a KW transmission fees.
It
Which
just doesn't make,
doesn't sound like a lot, but for Lafayette, it's $10 million a month.
yeah. It just doesn't seem very logical as an investment.
The alternative is to have Calpine, Glico is another company that built a 2,000 megawatt, merchant power plant in Plaquemine,
And when you say merchant power plant, that's a third-party plant?
third-party plant.
Okay.
And the permits are quick and easy to get because the demand for electricity is there. And they would use turbine engines, combined cycle turbine engines that are 65% efficient.
Versus the turbines that we're talking about putting here in Lafayette are how efficient?
They're 22% efficient.
So we throw away 80% of the energy we take out of the ground, we throw it into the atmosphere.
Yep. And,
Again, just-
and the whole plan triggers by Lafayette getting the air emissions permit. And as of 2 months ago, they hadn't applied for it.
They haven't?
No.
What's
So the
holding them back?
administration is dragging their feet.
Because,
Uh,
what's your theory?
I don't know. But Calpine, Glico, and I found out that Berkshire Hathaway have built 2 of these merchant power plants. And they're very much into business, and you're very anxious to talk to Lafayette. Lafayette's a growing community, and, we have 39,000 household customers, about 1,000 churches and schools, and,
No, you say 39,000, that's Lafayette
residential.
residential? Lafayette Parish or just
No,
Lafayette?
that's all Lafayette City,
The
LUF.
city?
Yeah.
Okay. Municipality?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
That's-
and the big bonanza is the commercial accounts. And, because they charge 10 cents, but it's peak demand.
Right.
So Denver went to peak demand and caused a building boom on the edge of Denver.
Okay.
Because it changes your monthly rate from around, say, the average household is $500, it goes to $1,250.
$1,250?
Yeah,
How are people gonna afford that?
I don't know.
So they're gonna bring in business and run out the residents?
Right, yeah.
That just don't make a lot of sense either.
But Denver doesn't have the opportunities that we have,
No.
But
So these merchant power plants, if Calpine came in, they would hire local people to run it?
Yeah.
And if Lafayette Utilities builds one, it's gonna be government employees?
no,
Or they'll probably contract that out too?
they'll have to contract that out.
Yeah.
For $20 million a year.
Yeah. Just seems like, the private sector could do a lot better job.
Yeah.
A lot better cost to us taxpayers. So,
So tell me about the projects that you all have done. And one of the things that you all have collected, you've been a leader in renewable energy, is landfill gas.
Yeah, and you want to take it?
We spent probably almost our whole career, plus 30 years of taking landfill out the ground, conditioning it, compressing it, and sending it to an end user. In this case, usually only one end user. We've done some projects that have taken 5 or 6 end users. They build a pipeline, and we help maintain it, run it, program it. And the cost benefit, depending on the contract, right, helps the community out because we're no longer flaring the gas. It's offsetting natural gas, and it should be competitive. And that was done for a very long time. We started to see that go away as administrations changes, but now, as of the last 4 years, we've seen a resurgence in this landfill gas to energy, biogas to energy, where people are now looking for being net zero again, where that sort of went away for a little while. And so we're seeing these landfill gas projects come back up again, or these high BTU projects we talked about come back up again, where people are selling credits. May not necessarily mean economics, but it's that net zero word that everyone likes to use. So.
Yeah. The
So the attraction for doing that is the natural gas, this is blended with regular gas, but then they can get credits,
they get the credits.
renewable credits.
Yes. And the digesters on a lot of these food manufacturers and paper, the methane produced off the digesters, that's actually becoming more economical for them to capture that gas and, like you said, mix it with their incoming fuel to their boilers and offset, the finite use of natural gas. So we're involved in a bunch of renewables that way. We do a lot of waste energy. CPL has, since we've been in business since '91, I think conservation of energy, optimizing the energy that our customers use has been our mainstay. We do a lot of waste heat, a lot of energy recovery off the back end of boilers. We bring it to some unique processes not thought of in the industry. And then again, the industry is finally, the ROIs on these projects have gone out because, like we should, the environment's becoming more and more important. So they are looking for ways. PepsiCo is really one of the biggest driving forces out there today. They have a net zero goal for 2030, and they're looking at the low-hanging fruit, and it's really exciting these coming years.
So, and y'all are working with PepsiCo?
Working with PepsiCo, which is Frito-Lay and Gatorade, Sunoco's a paper company, a specialty paper company. We do a lot of work from them. And, our service work, our controls, which Jeremy heads up, that's really, it keeps the systems running, keeps them operating where they're supposed to be. We have a great service company, service technicians that go out all around the country, and we keep these things running and find other projects that way, help our customers, again, save on energy and reduce their carbon footprint.
And y'all have worked with Arizona. I guess you got a plant in Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah, we were part of 2 biomass projects, a greenfield part of it where there was nothing there, and the opportunity was to burn pallets. And for Frito, that was a big deal. Once again, that net zero push, and they did 2 plants almost at the same time. And we've actually started the business in biomass to energy projects with all the mills in Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas. So it wasn't a stranger to us. That's kind of how we started, oddly enough, before we got into the landfill gas and the biogas energy projects.
Yeah.
And to this day, both the facilities are still in use. And because of those 2 facilities, we're seeing that Frito's going back and wanting to invest in biomass to energy projects. They're talking about other locations we can't say right this moment, but there's other states that they're looking into doing this again and expanding it, and not just doing 2, they may do 4 or 5. and they're gonna start at one facility that we're trying to get into to make sure that that goes well, like the other two plants. So it's exciting.
And Luke had shared with me that the product availability in these biomass projects are a big issue.
Always is, because it's like anything you buy, right? You're being told what you're sold, not necessarily you're the expert at what you're buying. And what we found is, some of this biomass that we're burning was mostly mud. And it was a challenge, and so everybody got through it, and once again, the project's still going to this day. They just had to learn the hard way of what you're actually getting. These guys are in the process of buying chips, making chips and buying potatoes and corn, and not necessarily wood pellets. And we spent a good years helping them modify what they had to get it done and to continue to get back on their investment.
Yeah, the plant he's talking about burns urban waste. He said pallets, but it's, urban waste, pallets, and so all kind of stuff coming to that plant. The other one we built in Arizona was originally designed for pecan hulls.
Right.
And I don't know what they're burning today. What they're burning
I think
today?
it's still pallets.
It's pallets.
I think it's
They
pallets.
went to urban waste too.
Yeah, and it also, both facilities had the opportunity to also burn tires. So as a side fuel with the waste.
Wow.
You have to be careful with it, but it was done.
What do y'all do with the nails in the palace?
I actually have metal detectors on the feeders that pull any metal out, big magnets, and not to say they don't pass through, but yeah, burning that kind of fuel is a maintenance intensive, but the payback and the benefits far outweigh
Yeah, the cost.
the maintenance.
Yeah. So what do y'all think of Lafayette's plan to spend $400 million with the MISO? Now, MISO is an hourly spot market. So your demand the price goes up with the demand. And you start talking about AI, how much power it takes to run an AI.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about, I've seen some predictions that would say that we're gonna double our need for electricity.
In 10 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, they're saying that by 2030, I think we're going to increase our demand by 40%. By the time we get to 2050, I think they're going to say we're going to be at 50%. And it's seeming like renewables is going to be the way to go to help if we have the infrastructure for that.
And that's just the big thing, is the infrastructure. So they either have to come up with a way to do distributive and get away from these single plants, and go to smaller plants that are more locally distributed to their users. I mean, that's one of my opinions. It's never grabbed on because it would be more merchant type distributive units instead of, the Entergy's and Lafayette Utilities running the electricity. They put it more in a competitive market.
Lafayette, with Lafayette, they're gonna need to borrow $1 billion. With the closing of the plant, Lafayette's share of that is $600 million. I mean, you gotta deal with the plant itself, you gotta deal with the coal, where you put it on the ground, because that's a contaminated site.
Yeah, it's going to be.
You gotta deal with a solid waste landfill,
Yeah.
where they put and then you gotta deal with the pond.
So we're going to spend $600 million to shut the plant down?
Yeah.
Wow.
And look, we're gonna borrow $400 million, but these two plants, we owe $70 million on it. So,
Where do we get the money?
hey, the administration right now will have to come up with rate increases to cover it.
Yeah, I heard.
That's all I can say.
I heard rumors that we're going to start paying demand charges 24 hours a day, whatever we use, instead of residential.
Right, yes, yeah. peak demand charges.
Yeah,
And
So
that's
if-
all, so it all started with acquisition of the coal plant. Our dealership, our automobile dealership, I think we had 40 employees, whatever. When they went to peak demand, our bill went from 1,500 to around 5,000.
And what we've seen that do, especially in the residential area where the electricity's high, then residents now have to get involved in finding every way they can to then lower their peak demand charges, which means they're gonna start investing in solar. They're gonna have to do their own thing in there at your house, which makes no sense in order to offset the cost of what the electricity's gonna be. More than likely, we'll get subsidized, but then somebody's still gotta pay for it. We're gonna pay for it regardless.
yeah.
And we've seen that in the state of Hawaii, where it's, what, 40 cents kW?
45, yeah.
And everybody has a solar panel. It doesn't make any sense, but to them it does because of how high it is. And I don't want us to go in that direction either. You know, what we're doing now to get that high would be ridiculous in this economy, so.
Everybody have solar panels, and you have to trade in your garage for the batteries.
Really?
You need battery backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we stayed in a home in Paonia, Colorado, and Peter Heller has a small home there, you know, on 160 acres out there, and
Mm-hmm.
he's completely off the grid because he's got city water, he's got butane for heat, and then he's got these solar panels that's on a rack, and they don't move, but I mean, you could have put that into it, because you increase the efficiency of solar when you go to the movement
when
with
it
Yeah,
tracks
you're
the
moving
sun,
with the
that's
sun.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the angle of
yeah.
the sun to get that optimum angle. So what's he do when it snows, though?
It doesn't, yeah, you know, I mean, but
I was looking at it.
what he did was got 10 trolling motor batteries that can be redone. He's got a backup generator,
Okay.
and you know, this is a
Run
little
on the
gasoline
butane?
generator
Yeah, oh,
and
okay.
butane. He's got on-demand butane, hot water heat.
Mm-hmm.
He's got, the floors has pipes going through it that runs the hot water through it.
Mhm.
It's adobe, so it's 20 inches thick. The walls are,
Yeah.
so the
20
whole-
inches thick.
20 inches thick at 20, yeah, right, yeah. And, you know, I asked him how long does it, he said he just uses it as a camp. But if he had somebody living there, his batteries would go down. So he's got a 12-volt system,
Mhm.
and he's got 120 volts, which means his televisions and all of that runs on the battery pack. And the life of the batteries, he replaced one battery after 5 years. So, you know, they're $100 a piece. So,
Right. $500 a year.
No.
You said one battery every year.
No, 5 years.
Oh, every
You
5 years.
replace one battery.
Oh, one
So
out of the
then
5. Okay.
So he's got 10 of them.
Oh,
So he replaced it for $1,000, but that gives him
5 years of
5
electricity.
years of electricity.
And the solar panels were recharging the batteries.
Yeah. They're all direct current, you know, they're all. So, I mean, here's a guy with very little knowledge of electricity, but has come up with a plan that works. Now, we are pushing, you raise the rates too high, and, you know, I'm surprised somebody like Lafayette General Oshner or Lourdes hadn't gone to self-generation.
Right. So that's right. It's going to force the distributive generation. And,
Yeah, right. And, you know,
Which
I
is-
see an opportunity for somebody like you guys that would come in and say, well, we're gonna put in a backup system that you would use all the time.
And right now, they're all just backup systems, right, just for emergency use and not for continuous use. So
No.
that's a whole infrastructure change for all these big
Well, we did
players,
those.
Oshner's.
Yeah, we did those studies a couple of years ago. Well,
Yeah.
almost 10 now. Yeah, 2015, for the Arkansas Veterans Hospital. They wanted to go distributive, and we were putting in 5 megawatts of power. It was a study, never went anywhere, but it was 5 microturbines and heat recovery off the back, so we were supplying the steam for the laundry and the sterilization process. It was quite expensive back then. Study didn't go too far with the administration that was in,
Were they in a peak demand area?
oh yeah, Little Rock, yeah.
Yeah.
And, kind of go back to, Harold, what you were saying, this is only gonna run 870 hours a year, and we're typically looking at runtime, well, Chris, on a typical commercial industrial, what, 8,700 hours a year?
Well, yeah, I mean, a year has 87 and 63 hours, yeah. But 870 is just the month of July,
Yeah, right, yeah.
or month of August, whatever
Which
the
is
hot
what it
month
sounds
is.
like all it's gonna do is the month of August. That's what
Right,
it's-
so we're $400 million to run generators for the month of August.
And then when we do run it, we're gonna be still paying the transmission fee,
Right.
because it's gone into that system.
And when we
And
don't
may
run it,
not
we have
be
to pay for
supplied
it.
us
Yeah.
at all.
And when they're not running it, we're still paying for it.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the business model of the government sometimes. Well, not really.
The transmission fee, because it's going into their system.
so, do you all see an opportunity for Lafayette?
See a very logical, yeah, opportunity for a company like Calpine to move in and take over.
They would run it.
They would run it, they would own it,
They would use,
take their losses, take their profit, and keep our rates low. I mean, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a huge opportunity.
yeah. Just to get our commercial customers off of peak demand.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that would drive more business here if we were off peak demand and good prices for electricity. I mean, and you would think Louisiana, with all the natural resources that we have in our backyard, that this would be a no-brainer.
yeah.
Instead of driving businesses out, we should be attracting them.
Which means that hopefully our taxes go down then, right?
Yeah, that will happen.
And drive the business back in Louisiana and not to Texas is where it's going.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I see this as an opportunity probably for you guys to design something. And in the oil center, we had, in the middle of the oil center, they had, I think, a building that was a medical complex that they put up for sale. And they turned the electricity off. But hell, that, they wanted to bring customers, so they were kind of, they had a backup generator which was running on natural gas. And to their astounding, they were shocked by the fact that the natural gas per month was half of what they were paying.
Wow.
And so, I mean, you look at that and, and somebody's figuring that out, follow the money, people are gonna find a way to trim the profits, to increase that profitability and improve their
Yeah. Well, improve their bottom line, yeah.
the bottom line. And I see that as a big opportunity for people like you to design those systems.
We look forward to it. If we get somebody in there that makes common sense.
Well, we're saying if the city decides to 100% go through with this project, right, Harold? And that's the case. They're committed 100% to doing this.
I see if they go with Calpine or with Clico or whoever. And Clico's very interested in working with us because they're already a customer,
Right. And it seems like that'd be a good fit.
Yeah,
Clico is Louisiana based.
yeah,
Calpine's California, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, both of them been in business of generation for years,
Oh, yeah.
decades.
Yeah. So Calpine, had this plant in Unison, and I think one of their managers was a real big active member of the Sierra Club, and he got there because he realized that we had solutions.
Yeah, there's solutions.
Yeah, there are solutions, yeah. To environmental problems, and for them, they avoided a big lawsuit. It didn't make the attorneys in Eunice very happy, but
They
The
can make
whole
money.
case
They can make
became-
money and do it right.
yeah. So they had to withdraw their case, because Calpine at the Eunice plant, instead of using 2.5 million gallons a day,
They
went
cut way
to
back.
zero.
Yeah,
Now, there's still hooked up into the well, but
for emergency, but yeah.
emergency, yeah. But essentially, their costs went way down,
Got a blinking light.
Hey guys, I was actually, Roger and a couple other viewers were saying that they couldn't get through, so I was checking to see if I could. By the way, Mr. Harold, it's great to see you back and back in your wheelhouse, telling Lafayette what is what, despite, like you've been doing for years, despite what maybe is being pushed. I always appreciate y'all's clear insight into the reality, especially of something as integral as power generation. But really, I was just calling to see if other callers could get through. So let me text the couple people I talked to, and if you're watching and want to call, dial 337-366-8950, and then don't press anything else. Stay on the line, and Mr. Harold will get right to you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, guys.
All right.
Have a good show.
So, with that, we welcome anybody to call and take advantage of my two guests who have all the answers.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the coal plant was a big mistake, and we're going to be paying for it dearly,
Why did we ever go to coal? It just makes no sense.
Well, coal was a lot more stable in '83 when that was built. You go into
We had all our fossil, I don't use that word, we had all the oil and gas we had here in Louisiana, and then we trucked coal in to make electricity.
hello,
Hello.
hey, you on there?
Standing by.
Okay. Somebody's blinking in again.
You're on air?
Thank you. Hey, Harold, question for you. Two things. Obviously, what you guys are talking about makes a lot of sense. But don't we also need to be educated and go on somewhat of a diet for our electrical use? When you see people walking around leaving lights on all the time, I know my children, they're certainly guilty of it. I'll go to their house and every light is on in the house.
I fight with it with my grandchildren. They,
A real good point, but
very good point.
along with conservation is the need, you know, the need for electricity is just going to go up astronomically as we build AI units. They need an enormous amount of power. So I would say with conservation, it's certainly it is a thing to be aware of. But like for a commercial business, I mean, you don't need to go turn the lights off because your peak doesn't, your bill is based on the most you're going to use in 15 minutes of a month, and you charge that rate all month long, all 720 hours of the month. So if you peak at X, and then you, at 2 in the morning you using 40% of that or 30% of that, or even less. Some businesses, for instance, they're closed on the weekends, and so you have, they're paying an enormous rate, and so if you got a cow pond to come in here, you do away with the transmission charges. That's just to use the CLECO, and we have a privately owned grid, and the charges are based on what the Public Service Commission thinks it ought to be. And so with that, I'd say that if we could avoid transmission charges, we might get off the coal plant, then we can cut our rates in enormously in Lafayette.
And can you say, I know, first of all, welcome back to, I should have said that, it's good to see you back. And these gentlemen and yourself, so if you had to propose the model for the most efficient usage for a city the size of Lafayette, who's our sister city that's doing it better than we are, that we can look toward and say they've really made some strides and they're doing this correctly? Do we have an example of that? And I'll go ahead and hang up. Thank you.
Yep. No.
Yeah, I can't think of one right now.
I can't think of one. So with
Not
that,
that well,
I would say thank you for the call.
I don't think anybody in Louisiana.
No.
I think we missed a call, but oh well.
So anyway, I mean, besides, that particular challenge, I think that if the city decides to go in that direction and our charges go up that much, what's going to happen is everybody's going to fight to actually do their own utilities, which is a whole thing. Because most of our customers, like you're talking about, they only do backups. When you start going continuous, that means it's a crew of people who are specialists in generation. They're not going to want to do that, which means you're going to be there'll be rental generators throughout the city that with that noise pollution, using that much more natural gas, just to stay off of those demand charges, peak power. When it comes to residential, I think to the caller, he's correct. Everybody's going to have their lights off.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to find a way not to use their air conditioning anymore.
like you're talking about, they only do backup. When you start going to include people who are specialists
Right.
in
So,
Yeah, and, I'm surprised the big users in the state like the,
Hit that red button. Oh. Hello?
hello? Hello?
Oh, he hung up.
That might be Roger. Just keeps trying to get in, but he might be doing something wrong. You think he did the show all right last month, though?
Yeah,
Not quite as good as you, Mr. Harold. I'm gonna tell him to call back in a minute.
okay. So anyway, where were we?
Talking about peak demand charges.
Yeah, peak
For
demand charges
residents.
was a big mistake for Lafayette. I mean, it still hurts the hell out of us. Our legislature I was looking up Lafayette, Up-City Diner, and their bill is like, hello?
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 Hey, I've been trying to call in, having some trouble, so I missed all the discussion about Calpine. If you could elaborate on Calpine and how they would fit into the big picture here, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Calpine builds merchant power plants. They're working up in North Louisiana. They got a project over there. They have a merchant power plant at Plaquemine that started with 500 megawatts. The need went up, up, up. Now they're at 2,000 megawatts. They use combined cycle, 60% efficiency. They use multiple units so that, it's an air-cooled system, and they'll use maybe 10, 50 megawatt units. And Siemens builds them, I think GE builds them. But these modern ones convert to hydrogen or a blend of hydrogen, and they run on pure hydrogen. They'll run a mix of hydrogen and natural gas, and or straight natural gas. So they convert to hydrogen, and zero emissions down the road. And the plant Lafayette has no plan whatever to convert to hydrogen.
They don't?
No.
and everything we've seen right now is hydrogen, all international, everything we've dealt with in the national world, they're preparing, they're getting ready. They're
Every
converting.
project we're
Yep.
doing now, everybody's advertising hydrogen ready.
That's right. And we've been burning hydrogen for over 30 years just because there was an abundance of it at the plant. They had nowhere else to do with it other than flare it. In this case, people are building equipment to actually take, what they have and convert it to hydrogen so that they're ready. What I think he's maybe asking too is if Calpine takes over, that means that the city's not footing the bill. And we're
That's
not going to
right.
be hit with the charges. Somebody else comes up with the capital.
They're not gonna be running the plant.
That's right.
They're not gonna be running.
And the
Then-
taxpayers don't have to invest in it,
No,
which is the biggest deal.
yeah, right, yeah,
Lafayette shouldn't be in the power generation business.
no,
We have no business in it.
no.
So yeah, if they're not hydrogen ready, that's just another why.
Yeah, why? Another illogical step.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've gotten many questions about hydrogen these days, just in the last month.
Yeah.
It's coming up.
Oh, it's gonna be the fuel of the future.
Exactly.
I do believe that.
Only emissions is water vapor.
That's right.
I think it's going to do away with the lithium, well, cut back on the lithium.
Yeah,
I think is a very good thing. I don't see that being as environmentally friendly as it's marketed. I mean, it's a step, but I don't really believe it's a step to the future. I think the hydrogen fuel cells and hydrogen as energy is going to be our kids' future,
Yeah, yeah,
my grandkids' future.
yeah.
Yeah, and not investing in a power plant is going to be my grandkids' problem.
Yeah, $240 million just for natural gas technology is what, 1990 at the latest? They're not really doing that much to natural gas turbines, whereas hydrogen, and we have a lot of it.
Yeah, the ocean's full of it.
The ocean is full of hydrogen.
Besides that, they have all these new technologies that are, making hydrogen out of, we said ammonia, some other.
Yeah.
you know.
And a lot of the chemical plants here in Louisiana, hydrogen is an off gas. And I know in Pasadena, they actually have hydrogen pipelines where the different plants share their excess hydrogen with each other. So, it's not all that new of a technology. It's just up and coming. Fuel cell technology is getting very, very interesting.
And that takes the place of a battery.
Takes the place of the lithium batteries, yes.
Yeah.
And if we have issue with this project, what do we do next, Harold? Like,
Yeah, what do you do?
What does everybody around here need to do? Who do they need to call?
Yeah.
Call the mayor, or they
Call Harold?
call Harold?
Yeah.
So,
Do we write the mayor?
yeah, is that we just need to make calls? People just need to be better educated that, is this going to be kind of put in silently without, enough information? Who votes on that? I don't remember voting on that or it's not in the ballot.
No. And you see, the council made a decision to authorize the acquisition of $400 million worth of bonds. You have $240 million for the plant. I think it's $20 million to take the whole plant down. So you had $260, and then $120 million for unknown transmission upgrades. They got to plug this 240 megawatt system into their whole system.
Right.
And I could be wrong. If it does go through in that fashion, I probably guaranteed that this will all be done from outside the state of Louisiana and brought into the state of Louisiana.
Yeah.
If I had to guess. This won't be local contractors or a local firm. This will be local equipment.
Yeah.
So, we'll be forced with that. So I guess it's, we need to start, making some noise if this is not gonna, go well for the city, because it doesn't sound like we also know what the implications are of what these fees are gonna be and how much they're gonna be to fund something like that for the state.
How many
Lafayette.
peaking stations we have already?
Well, we have Bonet and no, let's see, we have A Bear and Lobby.
Where are those located?
They're both located, they 100 megawatts each.
Yeah.
Each of them have two GE frame 5s,
Frame 5, simple cycle.
single cycle.
They're-
Yep.
Over there on the south side, the south,
No, they're on,
by the thruway?
they're by Broussard, between Broussard and,
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. And MISO is forcing us to get another 240 peaking in order to what?
yeah,
Why is MISO telling us we have to do that?
because we partnered with them. We buy all our power from MISO.
We don't buy it from Entergy.
No. No.
We don't buy it from CLECO.
No,
We buy it from MISO,
yeah,
who buys excess electricity and resells it.
yep. and they're a nonprofit, so, but they're an hourly spot market. So they can't tell you next week at,
Can't tell you next week what you're gonna be paying for.
no,
And why did we do this?
Harold, you're not selling me on it.
right, yeah,
I'm trying to understand why we're doing this.
right.
I mean, with Clico and Slimco and Energy, you would think, I mean, at least those are local. And Miso's nationwide, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No. They operate in the middle of the country. And really from Wisconsin, you know.
Wisconsin to the East Coast?
Yeah, no, they're just in the middle of the country.
Oh, so Wisconsin and Mississippi Valley?
Yeah, Mississippi Valley, right.
And then once again, we're having to do this because we have to make what we purchase. So we have to have enough.
We have to have enough generation capacity to be able to provide.
And that's to get their great rates.
Yeah, to get their great rates. Yeah.
And we don't have that now
No,
because we can generate.
well, we have 450 megawatts of power. Now, we peaked at something like 515 during the heat of 23. So I don't know. So
You would think that, well, the local business, well, the local industry, I should say, they're not lobbying for, I guess we don't have that much really industry in the city of Lafayette, it's more commercial. But you would think they would be lobbying for,
yeah, right.
to know what I'm gonna pay for natural gas tomorrow. Or electricity, I should
Electricity,
say.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
sorry.
we have all kinds of contracts. You know, for the Bonnet plant, you know, we had long-term contracts in place.
And they're all gone?
No, they're still there,
So we're making money off of that?
I guess.
Okay. Again, I don't know, understand why the government's involved in power generation.
Well,
It doesn't make,
I guess they were also involved in fiber to the road too.
yeah, they'd be involved in data and, yeah.
Is that even making money? I don't want to get off subject, Mr. Harold.
What's that?
Fiber optic.
Fiber, the LUS.
LUS.
No, they're losing their ass with it.
Oh, great, because that's what I have. No, I have, I have AT&T.
The government can never do it better and never
No.
cheaper.
Never cheaper,
No.
never safer.
So anyway, but I see if we go down to Calpine Road or Clico Road, whoever, we're gonna be paying a lot less for electricity.
Well, we're here to back those guys up. We can service all their stuff. We can design a lot of their stuff.
Well, it's an opportunity for Lafayette, it's the future of Lafayette,
Yeah,
and how much we're paying for it. If
So-
we lower the rates, we get rid of peak demand, charge a uniform price for everybody.
so there's no lobbying organization within Lafayette that's trying to do what you're talking about?
It-
We could get involved?
You'll be it.
We're it? The three of us?
Yeah. Anyway, we're at the end of our program, so I want to thank you all for coming and
Oh,
Thank you, sir.
and
Thank you for having us.
sharing with us your knowledge of electricity and how we generate it, and where are we going in the future with it, you know?
To be continued.
To be continued, yeah.
Yes, we'll see.
So anyway, thank you all.
Thank you.
Merry
for being
Christmas.
here.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and Merry Christmas to everybody out there.
You have the idea of where do we go from here?
Where do we go from here?
So why not call your councilman, call your
Yeah,
mayor,
Because, once the decision's made, it's gonna be too late. We will have no more choice. That's gonna be it.
But yeah, one voice, we need more than one voice, so that's what I was thinking. I mean, yeah, we can call. Oh, yeah, okay, I'll note it down. One vote. Yeah. I'd rather play on everybody's ignorance. That's why a lobbying group, somebody can get the message out to the public.
That's right. Yep.
And you can see the engineering firm, which is operating out of, I guess, Denver, wherever their Colorado firm. They're not worried about how much Lafayette's paying for calls.
No.
All right.